the state of New Hampshire right now, and I think nationally, there's definitely a housing shortage. That's actually a crisis level. We have a 0.8% vacancy rate in Keene. A healthy rental market has been described as 7 to 8%. And that's not just an affordability issue, it's a sustainability issue. It's a basic economic issue. You know, we have businesses in the city of Keene and companies that want to expand or want to build, and many times they don't because they're concerned about the availability of employees. So this isn't just an issue of providing housing because we want to provide housing. It's really the long-term health and safety of the community itself. We talk a lot about affordable housing, but what our goal has been is housing. It's not necessarily affordable housing, but affordable housing is part of the goal. We're looking to have housing of all types. It's not just one stripe. We need housing for people that have money, and we need housing for people that don't. We need housing for families. We need housing for people that don't have families. We need housing for retirees. You know, we need housing for people with disabilities. I mean, we have a broad range of housing types that we really need to see what we can do to stimulate. One of the projects that we have had the ability to move forward is taking a look at our own regulations. You know, we recognize that there are some barriers to housing that we can have some control on, and there's some barriers of housing that we have no control on. For example, we have no control over interest rates, but we can control some of the regulatory environment to make it more and more possible for people to put together housing opportunities. We were able to successfully ask the City Council to change our commercial districts to allow multifamily. So if you are in that district now, you can actually build apartment buildings. Our zoning is becoming a little bit less hierarchical and a little bit more spread in some of the things that it allows. We also modernized a number of the uses that were permitted, but it's also an attempt to bring these documents out of the 70s and bring them into the modern age. A subject like accessory dwelling unit didn't exist in the 70s. Now, by state law, we allow them, which I think in today's world probably has an awful lot of utility, more so than we've had in the past. I'm anticipating a lot of projects coming down the road, potentially. There'll be some places where there'll be conversions of land. You might have some small apartment buildings and things like that, or townhouses or condos. But I think the definition of housing has expanded quite a bit. So for example, we've returned to an older term, for example, boarding house. We also have newer versions of housing like sober homes. We have other versions of housing like homeless shelters. So the world of housing is actually quite large, and our thinking has to include the provision of services to create them. I believe one of the main assets that the city of Keene has to offer residents and potential residents is literally the quality of life. It is a community, it's a community that values its sense of community. It is a community that has vast, I think, recreational and scenic abundance. We use the slogan, "Everything you want is here." But if you think about it, that's really true. As a community, we have great shopping, we have great recreation, we've got good schools, we've got an airport, we've got all sorts of things that many communities lack, bigger and smaller. So it's a community that's of a good size. It's a community that's proud of taking care of itself. And it's a community that is more than welcoming to newcomers than people really believe. Keene always seems to have had a mixture of housing. It's always seemed to have neighborhoods that were not just universally one class or one economic strata. Your neighbors could be multimillionaires, your neighbors could be people that are collecting some sort of assistance, but they were your neighbors, right? And that's one of the things I always found attractive about Keene, is you had a definite sense of community and neighborhood. And that's at the basis of all housing, I think.